All right. And we are currently live. Give me 1 second.
One.
All right, give me a minute.
You can't just change your mind like that.
Yeah, I can because it was 1 second.
So why do we decide to do this podcast?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So nice.
Hey, gotta keep it 100, am I right?
No, dude.
All right. So let's see. All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the 7th episode of the Neon Podcast. I'm your host, and if you're watching on YouTube, the channel owner, I am Neon, also known as Neon. You probably know me. So, although we only have 3 people on Skype, including myself, we have 2 other guests, a total of 5 guests on tonight's podcast. So, we're going to go around, whatever that means, as a round on the internet, and we're just going to introduce ourselves. So, pretty much just your name, what you do, and if you don't do anything, some sort of hobby. And since this week's podcast is the human intuition, pretty much what influenced you and what your life decisions, what made you decide to be on this week's podcast? So, does anyone want to go first? If not, I'm just gonna pick people.
Phillip, he already started.
What?
All right, Phillip, go ahead, dude.
Alright, guys. So, my name is Phillip. I'm a UX UI developer at my company. And,
At your company.
well, the company I work at. I freelance as a side business, so I am also my own company as well during the nights, these weeknights actually. And why I joined the podcast is like I really enjoy listening to podcasts, especially like during all my drives home. Like it takes me an hour to get home, or it takes me an hour to get to work. So usually podcasts usually last an hour, so I usually learn a thing or two, and it's just really entertaining.
Nice. Awesome. All right. Since you volunteered, Phillip, looks like you're going next, Jimmy.
I vetoed that.
No. That's not how this works.
Okay, I am Jimmy Zoe. I am a computer science second year master student. My focus is on games. Why did I do this? I don't know. So I could have hostages who are forced to listen to me talk for an hour back.
I'm gonna just like kick you
Alright,
off
we know
like the
where-
Discord and the Skype, dude. Like you sound like we're being forced. No. All right.
We know where this guy's intuition's going.
Oh,
Okay, well, you asked me to do this, so
that's fine. That's totally fine. I respect that. Trevor, was it right?
Travis.
Travis. Sorry, Travis. It was a
Okay.
tra with a V. Sorry.
But
wow.
Sorry, I just met him like 10 minutes ago, dude. Like, can you blame me?
This is your show.
What?
Come on,
I
if the
didn't
host
know
is
he was
fucking up.
joining until 10 minutes ago, dude. Like, this wasn't even a joke.
Alright, Travis.
All right, Travis, what you
No
got?
worries. My name is Travis. I work as a sales assistant to um, a local sales team at a big research company. We do consumer research, to say that much. And why did I join this podcast? Honestly, I just kind of got invited by Phillip randomly, and it seems like a pretty interesting conversation. So I love engaging in difficult conversations, and we'll see what comes out of this.
All right, awesome, awesome. Glad to have you on the podcast, man. All
Thank
right,
you.
Kemp, what you got for us?
Alright, I'm Kemp. Y'all know me from the past 6 episodes. Yeah, man. Y'all should know me.
I don't know you at all.
Yeah, I graduated from UCI. No work yet.
Oh.
Why am I on this podcast? Because I love Neuron that much.
Uh,
Hey,
Real
that's
love.
hey, that's what I like. That's what I like. That's what I like to hear. I love you too, babes. All right, so like I said, welcome everyone to the podcast. So we have someone in the live chat, Gerard Valdelon erasing first when the music was playing. Thanks for joining. All right, so this week's topic is the human intuition, and I don't want to get too political on this podcast, but I did want to relate it to some of the bigger events going around the world, more specifically, the United States. Recently, we've had the big hurricanes coming in from the Atlantic, the uh, massive shooting in Las Vegas, and President Trump doing stuff in Puerto Rico. God damn, throwing paper towels into a crowd, dude, because that helps in a hurricane. Let's
SMA.
when is Trump not doing it?
So, we've got a lot on. Like I said, I don't want to get too political, but we'll touch upon it. We'll use it as a springboard onto the rest of the podcast as we venture out into whatever conversations we get into. So, pretty much the reason why I wanted to bring this topic this week, the human intuition, is pretty much why people do things in a certain way. Both, it's like, is it because of their values, how they grew up, the environment? Is it was it nature versus nurture? All these different kind of factors and philosophical ideals that people have in their life, and that's why I want to bring some of these people on to hear their different perspectives as well. So, um, let's actually start off with more of the political stuff. Like I said, I don't want to stay too long onto it, but what do you guys think about like the recent shootings with regards to like, oh, politics, gun laws, what counts as terrorism, blah blah blah, and all that stuff? And you guys can just jump in whenever. I don't have to like call you guys off.
Go ahead, Kemp.
Or for a Las Vegas shooting. I mean, we still don't even know what the guy was thinking. So all I can say is that I guess, oh, I said this about a lot of people, but he's doing some stupid shit. All right, he was in Vegas, like, I don't know, man. Well, I think it's like he probably got like drunk or whatever. Or actually, no, that's not what happened. Because like he was on to like a bunch of like weapons already, so that's definitely not what happened. It was probably planned or whatever.
yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, there was reports that he was already initially scouting the weekends before festival, the Life is Beautiful festival, and there were reports that he was already scouting for positions to
Yeah. So,
where to shoot.
based off reports that I've heard of and I've read, so just as an overview, um, the there were 50 people killed, over 500 injured, and for the shooter, a 64-year-old white male from like 60 miles out from Las Vegas in Nevada, had purchased multiple automatic rifles, or at least rifles and modified it to be automatic. Um, and some of them were actually purchased near Las Vegas from a local gun shop as well. So that's some of the details that I've heard. Other regarding the actual shooting, people were helping on site when stuff happened. So I don't know if you guys have any political views on that. So up to you.
I think that uh, personally, and of course, the definition of terrorism, it sounds like it kind of changes from place to place. I know, and if you Google it, it says someone causing bodily harm, etc., etc., with a political agenda. But
Mhm.
I kind of go by I guess just the act of like causing mass chaos and mass uh, bodily harm and whatnot. I think that's an act of terror. So that's how I'm defining terror. I do define this as an act of terror. Um, and I guess to speak on the gun laws, I mean, if you look at other countries, it makes sense. But I mean, the reason we have our Second Amendment rights is due to our history. Um, I mean, and if you don't know the American history, I mean, that's when the government came and like kicked all these people out of the houses and they couldn't defend themselves. And so, eventually the government gave people rights to, bear arms so they could defend themselves if this ever happens again. Um, so I mean, if our government decides to kick us out of our homes, we can fight for ourselves if we have our arms to bear. But I think in a civilized society, I mean, that's up for debate. It shouldn't happen.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with like definitely your terrorism and terrorist statement, but the same thing. I think me and Kemp were talking about this like back in the day too, like weeks before this even happened or months, that the Second Amendment was back during like what was it, the Revolutionary War. So and militias and stuff like that. So it's very wouldn't say outdated per se because obviously it still applies to people being able to constitutionally nationwide be allowed to have firearms. So, I mean, in terms of like other gun laws, like ammo capacity, background checks, stuff like that too, is like additional, but things happen between state to state, and there's nothing um, been created on a national level. There you go. So.
Yeah, I always thought that was weird. It's just like that you have this like the general Second Amendment, but it's like it's different laws from state to state. Like I know in California, it's like they're like super hard on people who have guns, and where in like Texas, it's like a lot of people have guns for like they get it really easily over there.
Uh, let's see. When it comes to guns, I actually don't mind guns. I have a little bit more like a centralist view on this type of thing. Uh, I do mind the fact that the amount of guns you could have, because from reports is saying that he brought 19 guns in that hotel room,
Mhm.
and I mean, why do you need 19 guns? In my head is all I'm saying. I mean, there should be like a cap of how many guns you could buy.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. I can agree with that statement, to be fair.
Yeah, because
Like, well,
from another report later on, they went to his house and they found I believe an extra 15 guns. So in total,
Yeah.
he had 34 guns, and I think that's actually really ridiculous on that we don't limit on how many guns an individual could have, especially. But I'm not against of on people having guns. There are obvious reasons why people have guns, and it goes back to the fact that to defend yourself.
All right. All right,
To
Jamie.
defend yourself against other people who have guns.
Yeah.
That's practically it. I mean,
I mean, yeah. I mean, other than like home invaders, like and sport hunting, there isn't much to really defend yourself from other than people with other guns. It's like those are the three main things, honestly.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know. In terms of like, all right. So you guys have your own personal views and values about these kind of politics. We'll try to keep this brief to like few
Mhm.
sentences, but um, what what were some of your like basic reactions, not to just like the Las Vegas shooting, but how other people reacted? Because you know how some people we're a country that likes to avoid these big topics that people don't like talking about, like such as some people with gun control. And there was I think it was Trevor Noah, right? I was watching one of his bits on his show, and he was saying it's like why do we avoid why do we avoid these topics of terrorism and um, gun laws when it's such a prevalent thing that we do actually need to talk about? They're like, oh, hotel security, but we don't talk about when a plane crashes or something. We talk about why the plane isn't made well, where versus um, this shooting, you don't talk you talk about the people who carry guns. You don't talk about the security that where the hotel stayed at. It's like you're dodging the question, sort of. You know what I mean? So like, what were some of your reactions to like news sources and when reading these articles and stuff like that?
All
I'm a
right,
little
Jimmy.
I'm a little desensitized to all these shootings by now, to the point where, I mean, there are multiple websites. If you go to like days since the last mass shooting.com, it's literally a tracker that tracks how many days since we had our last mass shooting in the United States. The fact that we have that kind of thing should tell you something.
Yeah, that's true. I think also just to be clarified, I think I also remember reading this. The definition of a mass shooting in the U.S. is minimum of 4 people being shot. That's considered a mass shooting.
What?
So,
Wait, that sounds awful.
so our country actually has, via that definition, hundreds of mass shootings around the country via like gang violence and stuff like that.
I mean,
Um,
4 is pretty mass. That's 4 people killed in one moment from what, a single weapon?
yeah, I think so. I don't know if it's a single weapon, but I just know 4 people, 4 victims at least, are involved, whether uh, deceased or injured. So.
Okay, my issue with the gun law right now and gun control is that the United States functions differently from Europe. Gun
Mhm.
control works for them because they don't have guns to fear. There aren't as many shootings, usually, like crimes, violent crimes are results of just other weapons, knives, batons, whatever.
Okay.
So, like, implementing gun control on United States right now probably won't stop those people who intend to get guns anyways, because they've already been, you know, incentivized isn't the right word, trained to accept guns as like a common part of their society.
Uh-huh.
Like, our gun control probably won't matter too much. We can limit it, but they'll probably get around it by getting like someone to buy it for them.
I think that's also fair to say. I don't know. What do the other 3 of you have to say about that? Or anything else?
Uh, the reaction to the media's reaction to the shooting is the question, correct?
Yeah, more or less, yeah.
Just anything of the big Las Vegas shooting,
Yeah.
Oh. Let's see.
or like the articles pertaining to it.
Yeah, like your reaction, your reactions to people's reactions. Yeah, it's some
Okay.
stuff like that.
Let's see. Well, I want to say that I'm very how do you call it? I'm not surprised that the GOP didn't really react to how Democrats would react to it, which is, calling
Ooh.
for stricter gun laws. While the GOP reacted based on, let's take this time to mourn for these people instead of politicizing it.
Mhm.
Um, I just, for me on that, obviously, I think it's just to save face. Um, I know that they can't talk about that stuff because just of how much their what do you call it, their donations are
Yeah, like
raised
they're
through
like
the NRA.
yeah.
The
Yeah, so
constituents.
obviously their big money are not gonna let them talk about that. The moment they say something again about gun control, like for it, I mean, wait, are we allowed to curse on this podcast?
Yeah, go ahead, dude.
Yeah, what the fuck?
Oh,
Why would we not be able to curse?
yeah.
Fuck!
So,
All right,
I mean,
Jimmy,
the
go to the
moment
fire
a
guy.
GOP member decides to talk for gun control, they are NRA shit list,
Yeah.
and the NRA has a huge budget. One of the biggest donors in America, obviously. Um, and like, let's see, I just read in the news today, not related to Las Vegas, but the Illinois governor, who is also a GOP member, recently passed an abortion bill, and the first thing the GOP does was they reacted really angrily against this governor, and they're already setting up a challenger for that governor to take his spot already.
Yeah.
So, I mean, again, I'm not too surprised on how the GOP reacted to this whole event.
Yeah. So pretty much just like financial backing, who are your investors, donors, and interest groups, specialized interest groups, honestly. So they're pretty big in their government, but like I said, I don't want to get too into this. And like
Mhm.
after Kemp and Travis go, we'll try and move on to the next topic as well. So yeah, either of you two want to go?
I think personally the media has been very liberal. I generally agree that the media is very liberal because the media obviously plays to the masses, and the masses are in big cities, and of course the big cities are more liberal, more democratic leaning. Um, it would have been nice to have like somebody who's super conservative kind of jump on the podcast too, because that kind of sounds like we're all kind of left-ish leaning.
Yeah.
Um, so that would have been nice to have a difference of opinion. But for me, it's just Trevor Noah like had a lot. I watched that piece too. It was really eye opening for GOP to dodge it. I mean, how do
Mhm.
you just dodge gun control when there's a mass shooting? Um, but the one that really hit me wasn't Jimmy Fallon, Jimmy Kimmel. His about the shooting was just it was heartbreaking because when we look at all of this, it really is about human lives, and whatever we gotta do to keep more human lives around. I mean, we do it, whatever that may be. I don't know if gun control is right or whatever it may be. That's just my opinion. We want to keep lives alive. We don't want people to lose families.
Mm. I haven't watched it, but that sounds like really eye-opening and like influential as a piece to watch. So I think that's really that's some great input. All right, Kemp, what do you have to say?
I just agree with all the saving face, with all that saving face. So pertaining with politics, um, what what got to me was all these numbers. How it's like how come like no one questioned this guy this stuff to his like suite or something, and like how did it get it all get up there?
That's actually a really good question that I really want to know too.
Yeah, it was just like wait, really?
Yeah, I mean,
Like no one
Yeah.
suspected this guy of anything before, because he I think it says here he checked in on September 28th. So like it was like a whole 3 days. Yeah, a
Y-
whole 3 days before yeah, a whole 3 days before the incident started. Was he like slowly bringing in all these things or what? That's
Yeah,
what I wanted to know.
that's
So
true.
like yeah, when the investigation is finished up, that's what I want to read about.
Yeah. I think you all bring up some very good points. Jimmy said like I'm also like pretty desensitized to this. This happens so often in our country and just around the world with social media being so connected and news being, thrown everywhere. Sometimes, obviously there's fake news, false news of some reports, but I think what bouncing off what Travis said was that this is human lives we're talking about. These are real people. These just aren't numbers on a report, right? There's actual people behind these stories, and not just people who died, but people who are related to them that are obviously going to be affected by this directly. And one thing um, that got to me when it got to their sport was how some people reported, rather than talking about the suspect or the intentions, was people wanted to report on the victims because it's more important for us to for some people in their opinion to rather talk about the good that was still in people, how other people involved in the incident at the concert were trying to help everyone get out, help injured get to hospitals, stuff like that. So I think that's another aspect of looking at it. It's like it's not just um, the bad stuff, but although something bad happened, there was still some good that came out of it, and that's one good a different light to it, in my opinion. So speaking of that, and like Kemp, thank you for yours as well. So it helps transition it. So it's like, why people do this? So what do you guys think about like nature versus nurture in this fact of like, are people born good? Are they born evil? Or it doesn't matter and it's based off the environment that they grow up in and stuff like that?
I mean, I feel like this one's pretty easy to answer. Nature if it's a mental illness, nurture if it's anything else. People aren't born immediately like wanting to commit mass violence on children when they enter kindergarten. Like their instinct is just to play with others, and they're sad when the people don't want to play with them. That's just the kid thing. Like that's the normal kid thing. So I'd say a lot of these shootings, like Elliot Rodger for UCSB, mentally ill. I would say like just mental illness affects a great number of just the shootings we see.
I see. I mean, you could say that about the mass shootings, but is it mental illness if you purposely join into like a terrorist group, like right? Like people who voluntarily, quote unquote, voluntarily join ISIS, right? And then they do these terrorism acts. Is that a mental illness or is that choice?
I mean, okay, so if we say someone just joins a terrorist group like ISIS, how many of those people actually commit mass terrorism acts, are willing to give up their lives, like suicide bomb a building full of people or a crowd? Like how many of those people who join from America are willing to do that? They may join because the ideology matches what they think they should have, or what the afterlife is, or whatever religious purpose, societal purpose, economical purpose they have. That's slightly different. If we're talking about people who actually create like the damage that we see, then I think the like mental illness rises up significantly higher.
Okay. I see what you're getting at. That makes sense. What about the other you three?
I mean, this is the age-old question of nature versus nurture, of course. And honestly, both have effect. I think what was that, Jimmy? No, who spoke before me?
Yeah, Jimmy. That was Jimmy.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I agree with Jimmy. Like, when it comes to nature, it's those who are mentally ill, and it's really hard to define mentally ill because, like you said, people can be coerced into doing things or like persuaded. So that's a tricky ground.
Mm-hmm.
And some people are just like born into violence, and that's something natural to them. For those of us who live in the U.S., I mean, and you grow up in the city, it's probably not predominant in your life. But if you're born in a war-torn country, like it's natural. And I think that uh, those of us living in the United States are very privileged to not have to deal with that kind of stuff. But we need to realize that that stuff still happens, in other places. Just kind of speaking on that a little bit. I feel like people are so desensitized about like where their food comes from.
Oh
Like
yeah.
we kill chickens, we kill cows. You know, that removal from reality is, I think, going to get to us in the end.
I see what you're getting at, and the point where it's like, oh, things happen so behind the scenes, and we're so far from it. It's like at this point, ignorance is bliss. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
we
exactly.
don't have to think about it. Is that we have that as a blessing or as a curse, depending how you want to see it. So I think that's totally fair to say as well. A great point to bring up. Camp, Philip, anything you guys got to say about it?
I'm still thinking about mine.
No worries.
So Kemp, go ahead.
Yeah, all I have to really say is that there's always going to be an exception. Everyone's circumstances are different, so if yeah, someone just like grows up in like a messed up neighborhood, it's just like it's like it's not surprising like how that person ends up in the future. I just when someone's like grown up in like a sheltered environment where just like nothing bad happens to them, like normally they're good, but then there's also the exception that like that sheltered environment gets to them. So there's always like an exception, like bad things always happen for some reason.
I get that makes sense. Yeah, definitely.
Like yeah, like going back to the Las Vegas shooting, like this guy was like he had like no record, like no criminal record before this, and like what happened?
That's true compared to like other mass shootings where, like Jimmy, you said people were mentally ill. This guy had no track record of anything. Maybe like a couple relatives, but nothing him directly. So I think that also brings up a very good point as well.
I mean, are we assuming nature is just anything passed down along a lineage or something they develop along the way?
I mean, that could also be argued. I remember back when I was taking a psychology class that, you know, we don't necessarily do this as humans. I know some people do via like arranged marriage, but like selective breeding, like, as humans, we have most of us have some sort of choice on who like we partner up with, have children and offspring and whatnot. But I remember there's a study. It's like there were years ago where there was wolves, right, that they captured from the wild, and they would particularly breed over multiple generations. The wolves that were um, more fond and more kind, less aggressive, and over multiple generations, I was like 5 or so generations of these wolves being brought up, that after those generations of kinder, less aggressive wolves, that they were basically just as good as house dogs because they were taken from the wild, but they were breeded over multiple generations. Whereas they did the same thing, but on the opposite side of the spectrum. They took the most aggressive dogs and breeded them together to get even more aggressive, and basically, just the opposite of the less aggressive. The more aggressive wolves became more what's the word? More hostile towards anything or anyone in particular. So I think that also could play a role in humans because if everyone's growing up in a bad environment and they somehow, for some reason, have a kid and it turns out to be some sort of mental illness, that's a fault of society per se. Is that could be both nature and nurture per se, outside factors like the environment. So I don't know. There's just that aspect to it. It's like how far back can this go, in my opinion.
I still think I favor is just nature in general, because imagine how difficult it would be to convince someone to go through with the school shooting. Like, what would I have to do to get any of you to say shoot up your college?
Is that a rhetorical, or do you want us to
No, I'm honestly asking you, like, what would I have to do? Would it be like years of abuse over the time, or like what would I have to do right now?
You would have to capture one of my family members and hold them hostage.
Yeah,
and then I would have to either find you or do what you say.
So you're saying it's like it's gonna be something really big for me.
Yeah. So like nurture, if we're talking nurture, it's gonna take years. So people who raised in let's say less privileged environments, that you don't see them constantly going to schools and shooting things up. School is a little more dangerous where there are fights and there are deaths, one person, maybe two, but you don't see like the mass shootings we see here. Like imagine how much like pressure you'd have to apply on a child through a long period of time to get them to do something like that.
Oh, okay, I get you.
Like the amount of nurture that would require, like just negative nurture, that's like mind-boggling.
At what point is it even called nurture anymore, dude?
Yeah,
so it's just like, abuse. It's abuse, dude.
Yeah, so like if they start out with already like inclination for violence, they don't need that much convincing. They just need a few things to set them off, a few bad environments, and then it's like, okay.
Then you have all the ingredients to create a human disaster, and it's just a ticking time bomb. Okay.
like everyone's right. It is both. It's always gonna be both.
But in
But
some
I always
cases,
think
okay,
the majority of it always lies in mental illness.
okay, cool. Oh, Philip, did you have something to say? Have you thought of what you
I'm,
wanted to
tr-
say?
I'm trying to tie this old famous case about a girl named Jeannie. I don't know if you guys are familiar with this case.
Was it the one where she was just like left in a room with no human
Yes,
interaction?
yes, yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah,
For
I've heard that.
13
I've
for
heard that.
13 years.
Yeah, I've
And
heard that.
I'm trying to tie it into the discussion, and I can't think of a way to tie it in right now. So.
I mean, I think kind of going off of that, it's like thing with us is that none of us, at least in modern society, it's unethical to just have a blank slate. Have somebody be raised like just give them food and water and have them be a blank slate. That's I think the only way we could ever determine nature versus nurture.
Mhm.
Um, and but that's fucked up. Like, why would you ever do that to somebody, right? So
Mhm. That's a good point. Like, it's hard to test it on a human being. We are considered, to ourselves, obviously, our own social and moral values of we are
Yep.
a high level
We kind of
intelligence. Yeah.
Also, that would be inhumane, which is probably the first
Exactly.
point you should have brought up.
No, I said morals.
I think that's
Morals
what I
and
meant.
values.
Okay.
Unethical,
That-
yeah, it's inhumane.
yeah,
It's not right.
inhumane, morals, values, same,
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, all right.
we kind of limit ourselves.
Just
a lot
making sure.
with
yeah.
We're,
Yeah.
All right, Kemp, you have something? Kemp, what'd you say?
Let's go.
Yeah, I was just adding on that we kind of limit a lot of our experiments due to ethics.
Oh
Mm,
yeah.
also true.
So, we kind of don't learn a lot because we limit ourselves. Not saying it's a bad thing.
Yeah,
It's
it could be a
just
bad thing
something
in
that we should
order
try
to.
into.
I think that's fair. For like I said,
Yeah.
fair points. So we'll go on to like another subtopic of like, um, mental decisions, decision trees, stuff like that. So, um, what? So when something happens in people's lives, right? When you're growing up, whether whatever personalities, extrovert, introvert, ambivert, or something else, you have anxiety, you have depression, you have some sort of like like I said, mental illness. When something happens to you, someone else that you care about, or even a stranger, um, when does social values and personal values interact? I told there's this is in the notes that I gave you guys, but like when does like this bystander effect no longer work? When it like benefits you, when it benefits everyone with your own values. So the reason why I bring this up is tying this back into the Las Vegas shooting was, like I said earlier, was the when people were getting injured, right? People, multiple hundreds, if not thousands of people are attending, also tried to get these injured people out of sight. There were also other concert goers. It's like, when does this, when do your own values or your own instincts kick in to save someone else versus just save yourself and just run? Because it's like, there was one guy I saw on news on TV. It's like, oh yeah, my friend was there. I was not gonna leave him, but like, if that was a complete stranger, would he have left that person? You know what I mean? So when do these factors and values of each person come into play? So anyone can take that, interpret as
this
you
one's
want.
pretty answer. So like groups with high levels of just activity or common interests are less prone to going through the bystander effect. So if say like they were at the concert, everyone's at the concert sharing the energy, they all share common interests, like listening to something they really like.
Mm-hmm.
I'd figure the bystander effect would be weaker there because everyone already kind of just like they're celebrating together, they're having fun together.
Mm.
But say like someone was murdered in the street and people were walking by, then the bystander effect would take place big time there. Like in China, when a foreigner was murdered, Chinese people were prone to running away from the person instead of trying to help them because the person just collapsed on the floor and they had no idea what happened. So like racial tensions come in there. When you think someone's different from you, then like the bystander effect is stronger. When you're with friends, you're less prone to going through that as well. Stuff like that.
That's very good points to bring up. I didn't actually think about it that way.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. Like yeah, for me, I'd probably just like if I say myself first, like I'll worry about myself. But if I could worry about someone else, like if it's like that easy to worry about someone else, I'd probably do it. But like honestly, like most situations, it won't be that easy. So I'd probably like go for myself always first.
I
If
mean,
it's like, yeah,
okay. I think it's a little like, so if you were there, usually people go with friends at concerts.
yeah,
It's probably
Mhm.
just an assumption to make, but let's just say that.
Mhm.
So your friend gets injured and you want to rush him to hospital as soon as possible, but then people around you are injured as well. Like I figure your instinct isn't to just take him, but since you're already taking him, you might as well try to grab everyone else and get there as well. And since you've already done this action, you've already broken past the bystander effect. So you come back, you're like, I have to keep helping people.
Oh, so it's just adding on. You've already committed to your
Yeah.
your action, your choice. Okay, that's
Yeah.
fair. So it's
You're
like
helping your friend.
like
you
a
have room
chain.
in your car for more people. Obviously,
Okay.
you're going to take everyone else.
So it's like a chain
that's fair.
event. I see. Go ahead.
I probably wouldn't like do it myself, but I'd probably like urge other people to do it. But yeah, I see what you're saying.
Oh yeah, but that's based off your own personal experiences, how you view your like you're not much for interacting because like on past podcasts you said um less interaction, more introverted. So it makes
Yeah.
more sense, more close knit. Okay, Philip, Travis, you guys have anything?
I just want to say, I think as I mean, any living organism is inherently selfish. I think, but due to influence in society, I think we become less selfish.
Mhm.
And speaking upon like the connectivity, yeah, I think connectivity is a huge piece. If you're going with people you care about, um, you're more willing to help, and then thus breaking that threshold of helping, you want to help other people. But if you're not as connected to people, you may not, you may be more selfish.
Mhm.
And there's nothing wrong with being selfish.
Okay. Philip, you got anything?
Um, I think I'm okay. Well, if I was there, I my first priority, if I was with friends, would be my friends.
Mhm.
I would try to get my friends to safety first, and pick up other people along the way, like what Jimmy would say. If for me though, it's only if like they're helpless at that moment, like they're stuck, they're frozen, they don't know what to do. I would grab those people and get them immediately to safety. Um, but of course the group, my friends are a priority.
Mhm.
If I'm by myself though, um, from that situation, I would probably run away, hide first, find a safe place to hide, and kind of assess what to do from there.
Mhm.
And then if it's possible to grab people, I will. If not, then I I just have to keep running because everyone's just panicking. I might make it worse for someone else. People are running at
Mm.
full speed, bumping into each other. It's already unsafe already as it is. Um, so the best bet for me would be to run away as far as possible too, so I don't cause a bigger issue where people potentially might get hurt.
Mhm.
Um, I think for if the let's say the shooter was close by, then I would probably go and attack the shooter instead.
Whoa, crazy.
Yeah, I'd book it. Fuck you guys. I'm
Yeah,
out.
because I only think about that because back when you remember that French club that got attacked.
The f-
Um,
oh, yeah, in France, yeah.
yeah, I would have went to and attacked the shooters instead and try to overpower them. Like
Yeah.
at
Mm.
that moment, this it's I have a better chance of attacking the shooter than to run away at that moment because it's such a close quarter.
Mhm.
Um, so at that point, I feel like there's no reason to run except fight.
That's fair. That's also fair to say. So there is like one thing that I want to bring up into this specific topic is like you said, you already said bystander and in terms of like your hobbies and connectivity, but I think another aspect of looking at the bystander effect, especially in like this specific example, is also proximity because um you're this close to you have someone very near near you, not like emotionally or mentally, but like physically, just near you, like has been hurt, when does it kick in versus let's like Philip, you said you, or Jimmy, like you already ran off, right? It's like how much more can you help? When does the risk outweigh the reward or something like that? Reward outweigh risk, something like that. That's how the phrase goes, right? So it's like the reason why I say proximity is um how close you are to the danger, because in the concert, right, you don't exactly, in the very moment, I'm sure a lot of them didn't actually know where it was actually coming from at first. So, and they didn't know where the inherent danger was coming from. And proximity in the terms of bystander effect is, that there's so many people that if you break the bystander effect yourself, how many of these other people are willing to break it themselves? Because that's how what it is in psychology, right? If even one person in a group of strangers is willing to break that bystander effect, then it's the chances of someone else breaking it like skyrocket, not skyrocket, but significantly change towards someone else joining in as well. So I think that's why proximity is also another aspect that I just want to bring into this conversation. So I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's a valid point for sure.
I don't know. Does anyone have anything else you want to add on before we slightly change topics?
Yeah,
If
go
if
for it.
if there's anyone in the live chat, like I said, I'm still reading it. If you guys want to join the conversation as well, I don't mind reading that out loud as well. All right. So, so personally for you, we already talked about like your own version of the bystander effect if you're in that situation, but where do your own values lie? This doesn't have to pertain to someone next to you being hurt. This doesn't have to pertain to a shooting or anything like that, but where do your values lie in terms of helping someone or making a decision in your life? That could be like, oh, a financial decision, like, oh, I have this much money, I can go buy this thing. Like that's me. I'm waiting on my next paycheck to buy a new $300 monitor for my computer.
Woohoo!
Like exactly, it's like what are these values? What makes these decisions for you? You guys can bring up like any stories or situations that you're currently or have been in as an example. So this is a very open-ended question for you guys to tackle. So you guys go ahead, tackle that shit.
Oh man, this is a very interesting one. Of course, I think values first of all come from the environment you're raised in, people you're raised by. But I think the studies have shown that once you get around like when you start making all your own decisions and whatnot, you start developing your own values, going against them. If you change, or reassuring them. Um, but one situation that really has been very eye opening to me that recently just happened is I went to a Walgreens with one of my coworkers, and at Walgreens they always have like these like, oh, do you want to donate $1 to whatever fund to help kids with cancer or like kids or people with AIDS. I went with my coworker, and I know for a fact that he gets paid more than I do, and he comes from probably a wealthier family than I do, and he didn't donate the dollar. But I know I mean, this is one time, I don't know if he's donated other times, but I don't come from a very privileged family. I don't make as much as he does, but I donated the dollar more than once.
Mm.
So, so that's just like, to me, $1's not much, but I mean, I don't know. I don't know what goes into that decision making. That's just, yeah, I guess speaking on my own values, like, I guess money is never an issue. Um, and time is never an issue if you care enough.
Mm.
Not saying that he doesn't care, but I think I just care more.
I see. Like in that specific scenario, I see what you mean. When does that specific scenario hold more value to that person to make them want to donate, or where you said like you said it's like money isn't the issue, so $1 every so often isn't that much. I think that's a good point to
Yeah.
bring up. Yeah. I don't know. Anyone else? Need more time to think?
Yeah.
All right. So, all right, I'll tell a story. This also relates slightly back to the bystander effect. So, this goes back to the reason why I brought up proximity as well was that I was in Berkeley, right? I was walking from my apartment to class. It was like 3:30 in the afternoon, and there was a skateboarder crossing the street in a pretty big intersection, and he like fell really hard like he must have like tripped on a small rock because you could see from far away it looked like not too bad. He didn't hit like a super big crack or bump or anything. It must have been like one of those skateboarding accidents where your wheel just gets caught, and he crashed like right in the middle of one of the lanes. Obviously, the light was green and no cars were gonna hit him, but and I was like a whole block away walking towards that intersection, and when someone when it looked like he wasn't getting up right away, right? He wasn't brushing it off. It looked like he was hurt. At that point, one person out of like the first car comes out to help him. And like I was walking towards the area and like I was like I wasn't sure if he was getting up yet either, but obviously the person got out of the car, made the decision to help him. And then after that, the car maybe one, two two other drivers came out to also assist to make sure he was okay. And the initial guy offered to drive him to the hospital. So I mean, that guy, like the guy who came out of the car, the first car, and offered to drive him to the hospital. It's like, what what was his situation as the time as well, including like, oh, was he not busy? Did he value helping this person more than wherever he was going to his initial destination? And stuff like that is for me is heartwarming because it's like that kind of helpfulness and people that go out of their way to do kind things, whether it was in front of them or not, is there's that faith in humanity phrase restored, whatever. But I think where what were the values of those other people? It's like were they gonna help and get out, or were they just gonna continue to drive on to do their thing, breaking the bystander effect? How much was that the deal breaker for other people to help? You know what I mean? So I don't know. What do you guys have any other stories or adding on?
Yeah, I haven't. I guess I haven't. I'm going again too. I guess. I remember watching this video in high school about how there was a dead homeless person bleeding out, laying face down on the ground, and people were just walking by him, not even noticing, you know. And
Mhm.
in my head at that time, I was like, that's so fucked up. How can they do that? They're such shitty people. But then I see myself doing the same thing as an adult. It's like you see you see homeless people and of course they sleep on the street, so you don't really know what their situation is. But I always think back to that instance of like, man, I remember seeing that video of all the people walk by this dead person. Like, I don't know if I should check if this homeless person's dead or if they're just sleeping, you know.
Yeah.
Um, and that internal struggle, man, it kills me. Cause what if I could be the change, you know?
Yeah.
And that's something I always struggle with when I'm walking around the city and whatnot.
Yeah, like the perspective of being an observer from far away and that not having any influence versus being in that situation yourself. That's right. I think that's also a really good point up to say because it's like we would say that both Jimmy and Philip, you both say you would immediately run away if you had no friends that were in danger immediately, or you would fight in the situation. But if you were actually put in that high pressure situation, how much would you follow up with what you said tonight? You know what I mean? I think that's
No, I'd book it.
I see it. So that's fair because
Um,
it's an easier decision, right? There's less risk to run away. So I think that's
well,
yeah.
yeah, well, I stand by what I said. And it goes back, like you said, to proximity. If the shooter was next to me, then I
Mhm.
would fight, and if he was far away, I would run.
Mm.
Yeah.
yeah, we never, what's the done in the situation. We could all say that we will be, heroes or runners, but who knows?
Yeah, definitely hard to say, especially with wouldn't say it's rare for us to be put in those kind of extreme situations, but we face some of these decisions in our everyday lives. That's why I want to bring it up. It's like in the Bay Area, specifically Berkeley, there's so many homeless people, and it's hard n- not to ignore them. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah, it's you know what I mean. It's like people have different values. It's like I understand that I've seen you multiple times from time like, but I don't know your situation. Are you actually homeless? Are you in need of like severe help? I don't know. Some people just want a conversation with, I don't know. So I don't. You guys have your, or you guys can also talk about your own values if you guys don't have like a story or anything.
Okay, yeah. Always, I think always my priority is always me looking out for myself first. But like, I think when it comes to other people, like if it's a total stranger, like I'm like less inclined to help them out. But like if it's someone I trust, like like a friend, like I've known for like a long time, like I wouldn't even I probably wouldn't even give it a second thought. Like if Niran asked me for money, like if he really needed it for something, like I'll probably lend it to him. If it's something small like that, or if it's like it,
Hmm.
I think like I'd only probably do it for people who I think are like worth it. But it's like if it's like other people like out of nowhere, just like say something big happens, I probably hesitate. Even like I don't know, like a really big situation, like say like something big's going down, like oh we need like save ourselves or whatever. Like if it's like a total stranger that I need like I'd probably still hesitate. Like I think
Hmm.
like bottom line is like what I'm saying is like if I think you're worth it, like I probably wouldn't think about it. But if not, like man, I think it's every man for themselves.
Okay.
In business, we call that ROI, your return on investment.
That's fair.
Hey,
Jimmy.
is it true that in the Bay you can't give food to homeless people?
Um.
I have
So.
never heard of that.
So I have heard of that. I've been in that situation before. The reason why you can't give food to someone is if it's been labeled with a business, restaurant, or company. Because if that homeless person gets sick from that food,
I get it.
they have the ability to sue, and that company is then rely is yeah that company or said
Uh,
restaurant is liable for that
Yeah.
the well-being of that person because of like said quote unquote food poisoning. The reason why I know about this is because me and my friends have worked concessions for UC Berkeley, whether it's for um, basketball games, football games. We would always have a not a bunch, but a decent amount, depending on how what the game was like, left over. Whether it was hot dogs, hamburgers, chicken strips, fries, right? We would have some left over, and obviously, us volunteers that were fundraising for money, we would take some of it home. But always, 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 we would always have enough to give away to whether more staff or we would leave it. I would walk home and give out like hot dogs to homeless people on my way home. So, but we were told specifically by the managers that work for the campus, right, under the concessions booth and stuff, that if we are to do it, we cannot say or have like a box with all the food labeled that it's from the UC Berkeley campus, or they can sue. So if we're gonna give it away, we have to leave it unmarked.
hmm,
So yeah,
interesting.
It basically just all comes down to liability. Yeah,
yeah,
Yeah.
I get that. Yeah.
yeah, they're looking out for themselves. It's not like
They,
they don't want to help. It's like if something goes wrong, then it'll go wrong for not just them, but for the
yeah.
homeless person, but for them
They're saving
financially.
face,
Yeah,
basically.
saving face. Yeah, exactly, exactly.
Yeah. That's a big thing in this country.
Yeah.
Yeah, lawsuits.
Hmm.
No, Jimmy, Phillip, you guys got anything to say about this? Your own values? Clearly,
I mean, my
Jimmy's like fuck
values
yourself.
I mean, my values aren't like a podcast kind of thing.
That's totally fine. If you don't want to, that's totally fine with me too. Just say so, and we don't have to push it any further. Oh no, Philip.
I mean, I kind of want to push it just a little bit more, but what do you mean by
I mean, it's
your
like,
values are not?
you know, like
podcasts?
it's like your own.
Like, I'm not the type to share it on a podcast.
Oh, okay.
Not like I like to murder people.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? Killing homeless people really gets me off.
Whoa. There.
Well,
Disclaimer for the listeners: he's joking.
Jimmy, where's the disclaimer?
There's asterisk. There's an asterisk
Where's
there
the
somewhere.
disclaimer?
Yeah, sure, disclaimer.
Okay, all right, I'll take it, dude. All right, we have it on record. Just be like, hey, did you guys know Jimmy likes to kill homeless people to get off? That'll be amazing. It's like, imagine you're on a blind date. What do you like to do? What do you like to do for fun? Kill homeless people and then like jerk off afterwards. Hell yeah, dude. They're like,
Oh god.
like,
Isn't that the dream? Like, that's the dream.
what would you do in that situation?
hey, what if your blind date's into that stuff, dog? You don't know. Cause you know, like, all right. So now that we're on the topic, let's. How would you present your values if you were up to like a stranger or on a blind date?
Oh,
I like to
like
choke
you're-
homeless people out with a necktie. It's easy. Like, just say.
Yeah, dude, just put what was it? Roofies in their drink. They won't know.
oh my god.
Look, if I don't think I'd have to roofie a homeless person. I just tell them it's food.
No, I meant the blind date, fool.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about a homeless person.
You meant like if they're into that, they're into that. But if not, I mean like just don't rat me out. Come on. That's it. Just don't rat me out. As long as I don't get fucked, it's alright.
That's a good one.
I can respect their dislike for it.
No, but like, how would you present your own values to, like I said, if you're on a blind date or you're forced to interact with someone in a one-on-one situation?
Yeah, I'd still take the direct approach.
You'd be like,
Wow.
all right, look, I'm gonna tell you some stuff. Don't tell anyone else.
I mean,
Where
if
this
you
is
like it,
between
don't
you
like
and
it.
me.
If you don't like it, yeah, take the direct approach.
If you don't like it, feel free to walk away.
Yeah,
It's no longer your
that's
problem. Don't worry
pretty
about
much
it.
Yeah, I would agree with Campo there. Like, I'm a pretty direct person, so
Oh.
I'd rather get over it than have it awkwardly in the air.
I
to
think
find
you
out
know this
later.
best now.
Hell yeah, dude. I love dodging the question. Not dodging the question, beating around the bush.
I fucking hate beating around the bush.
No, I'm just kidding. This only happens in specific situations, unless it's like, hey, what do you want to go eat? I'll be hella direct with like shit like that, or like, where do you want to go? If I'm really feeling somewhere and if I don't have any excuses, then I'll immediately choose something. It'll take me at most a minute to decide. But you know, obviously there's other factors that come into my decision making and how I act around other people. So there's that aspect. It's like, if I don't know them as well, would I be the one to decide where we would go? You know what I mean? It's like, would that make them uncomfortable or whatnot?
Okay, if choosing food for a group makes the people uncomfortable, they have underlying issues.
Oh, hey, it's very uncomfortable for a lot of people.
Hey, what if I have seafood allergies?
Yeah, see?
Then say it.
Then say it. I think. All right. So shit like that, like allergies. That's obviously a priority. We like, if you don't bring that up and we're already at the restaurant, that's your fault.
Yeah, look,
Like,
if you
like,
start choking out while we're at a restaurant, I'm gonna sit there and say this is your fault. And just
Right,
I feel like this is
okay,
what
so-
you caused.
Wait, what you're saying is that you're gonna decide like a minute, right? Or you're just gonna shoot something out, alright? Of course I'm gonna say I have like seafood allergies because like, hey, I want sushi. Oh yeah, I'm definitely gonna say I have seafood allergies at that point.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, but it's not like I'm gonna say it like when we're on our way there.
It's like, all right, so we're decided sushi. 10 minutes later, guys, I'm allergic to fish, to seafood. Be like, you
You
wasted.
guys are dying,
You
and
wasted.
I have an idea why.
I think for me at that point, it's decision making and introducing yourself. It's how much in term resource waste, whether that's physical or intangible. It's like
Time.
are you
Yeah.
wasting my time? Are you wasting my money? Or are you wasting my gas? Right? Or my
That's fair.
physical
I
energy.
understand,
That's
yeah, I
technically
get that.
not tangible either. But are you wasting something that has relative value in my life? At that point,
I,
yeah.
yeah, I'm not a fan of inefficient ways. Yeah, I get what you mean.
Yeah, dude.
I'm I guess kind of not like you guys. I don't want to like hurt anybody's feelings, and I want to please people. As I've gotten older, I've learned to control that a little bit. I mean, depending on the situation, of course. But I'm always I kind of do beat around the bush just because I want to get a sense of how the person's gonna take it, how they're gonna react. I want to make sure they're in a good mood, in a good place before I interact with them because you never know how somebody's gonna take what you say wrong or right.
Mm.
So I kind of tippy toe around that a little bit just to fill them out first.
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely. But for me, I think it's the reason why I bring it up being more direct. It's like, oh, resource wasting is like if we're already put in that scenario of one on one. But if it's like the larger group, or it's like I know I'm gonna be interacting with this person more in the future, then I would also be cautious. So I think that's also fair to say, being like I'm also used to be like a people pleaser, but even though I've tried to be people pleaser, wouldn't say I messed up a lot, but you can only please the masses so many times where
Exactly.
there's a point where it's just like forget it. The masses need to or not the masses, but the minorities in that specific
The
situation.
minority.
I don't know what to say. It's the majority and the minority. Like, what do you want me to say?
In this case, we're not referring to a certain group of people. It is really the minority.
There's yes, if in a certain decision making there is a minority, and there's only so much that I can agree with the majority. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
yeah, there's only so many
I think,
times I can agree with either side. So
yeah, I think for me, it's just like in my head, it's if we're like deciding on something or whatever. I think in my head, it's just someone has to take the initiative, and just like if no one's gonna take it, I'll take it.
yeah, okay, that's
It's
fair.
something's gonna happen. It's just like, and then if when I take initiative, we can just springboard off that, and then we just talk about it. And in the end, everyone will be happy by the end of it,
Yeah,
or at least that's supposed to be the ideal.
yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of us need to be put into more difficult situations. It's kind of like, I mean, I don't want to really get back into the political, but be faced with each other's different ideals to really understand each other. I mean, with the great divide in the United States of America right now, I think it's a good idea to challenge ourselves by learning different perspectives.
Yeah, dude. Let's be honest. All the decision we need to be making is throwing paper towels in people that are in need. That's the real decision right there.
I
Holy.
mean, I'll be real. Like a big problem I have with a lot of people is just like they're like oversensitive about a lot of things. It's just like when you say something at the beginning, it's like people assume there's no discussion needed afterwards. It's like when I say something,
Oh.
I kind of in my head I was like, oh, okay, let's talk about this. I'll bring something up, and it's just like, and then someone will say, wait, what? Are you really? And then they're just like assume things and just wait.
Oh, that they assume or like think that they're an absolute. What they say
Yeah,
isn't an
yeah,
opinion; it's a fact or something.
yeah. I don't want to like talk to like absolutes when I bring up stuff. It's just like I want discussion.
It's like, oh, okay, that's fair. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, and then
definitely.
nothing's ever black and white, right?
Yeah, like
That's a good point.
that's just what I
Yeah.
yeah that's just what I hate about certain people.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
I don't know, Jimmy, Philip, you guys have anything? You guys haven't spoken in a bit.
I mean, I'm not really a people pleaser, so I don't really have
So, hey, so you could talk about that then. Like,
Yeah.
why do you not want to be a people pleaser, dude? You're all about you. Is that it? Is it just simple
Okay.
as that?
I will be a people pleaser if it benefits what I want to do. Like if it's going for my dream or whatever, then I'll be a people pleaser. But honestly, if you this sounds bad, but if you offer like nothing to me, I don't really care about what you think or what you want or anything.
See? So pretty much just beneficial to you. I think. See,
Yeah,
this is
like,
this is why. Okay.
If you are a superior to me, then I'll be like, that's cool. Like, what do you need me to do? It's like, I can help you out with some of the work you need to do. But if you're like my level and you ask me and like, can you do something while I'm busy? I'm like, no, fuck off.
I think okay. See, that's why I brought it up in like especially why I wrote it in our notes is when does a person's image or when does it benefit you or everyone or just them? You know what I mean? I think that's a good point to bring up. Especially, me and Travis. We try to please as many people as we can. For me, it didn't work out as planned, and that's why I become less of a people pleaser because it just pisses too many people off.
Yeah.
But that's just me. I don't know.
Let's see. For me, I'm kind of at a disadvantage
Mhm.
most of the time because in many of my friend circles, I'm always the person who is the one that's coming up with ideas,
Mhm.
and so it's kind of like I can't I can't what's the word? It's not being people pleasing. It's more of a hmm. I have no choice in a sense. Um, and the only way to get out of the situation is to just what do you call it? Find out what they want and then do it.
Okay.
Is this you secretly complaining about TK right now?
No, but he knows what I'm talking about.
Okay.
He knows what I'm talking about. And I'm not saying he doesn't, but he
okay.
understands.
No, I understand. You don't have to point names. His look. I don't know if his webcam is on, so I can just like point at the Skype camera. And you can tell me if it's right. Okay.
That's so spicy
He
as fuck, though.
understands in my circles. I'm the guy who's always planning the shit. So it's natural for people to immediately ask me what to do. And
I would say, I mean, I live with Philip, so I would say that he is, he's kind of honestly, he's kind of a people pleaser. He goes out of his way to provide people with, resources and, good times and whatever it may be. And, sometimes he does get taken advantage of and he gets put into situations where he may not want to be in. But I mean, like you said, he plans most of the stuff, so he kind of has to roll with it, and it kind of
Eh,
sucks for him.
okay. So okay. All right. Any? Oh, go ahead, Kemp. Go ahead.
I thought we were gonna get a funny story, but never mind.
All right. So, any final thoughts, or not final thoughts, before we move into this really quick final topic for the night about your values or stories, or if Philip and Travis, if you guys have stories about each other, if you guys want to talk shit on our podcast.
I mean,
Oh.
Philip's already covered the talking shit.
Oh wow! Wow!
All right.
Honestly, he's talked enough shit for all of us.
let's see.
Fucking
You're doing
spicy.
good. You're doing good.
Spicy.
Wait,
That's the way
okay,
I
wait,
like
wait.
it.
Final thoughts on what is it again?
Sharing your values to other people.
Oh,
I mean,
I hate people who don't have common sense.
oh, all right.
Yeah.
That's a good one. I do not want to open this can of worms right now. That's a big one. All right.
Because
I'm
I
just gonna-
only bring that up because you talked about how someone doesn't bring up the fact that they are allergic to sushi, and that's fucking common sense to say that you are allergic to sushi.
No,
Why the
yes,
fuck did we go
yes.
to sushi?
Look, okay, I have a friend here in UCSC who's allergic to all seafood, and we go to Korean restaurants, and he eats something, and he's like, "Does this have fish in it?" I'm like, "You fucking, maybe you should have fucking asked that."
No, dude. No. At that point, that's nature, dude. Maybe he's just slow.
Oh my god.
He is a PhD computer science student. If he is,
That doesn't mean anything. That doesn't mean in the social context of seafood, dude. That has.
Okay, survival isn't just dumb. It's just like at that point, God is wringing your neck himself.
He might be, book smart, but he's not street smart.
Yeah, there you go. See, that's nature. That's nature.
That's just beyond street. That's not even street smart. I'm telling you, the divine intervention is saying you don't deserve that. If there is a God out there, he is obviously choking you the fuck out.
Oh man.
Okay, all right, guys. That was some good final thoughts for that one, and we're just gonna move into our last topic real quickly, just to see where your values are in these specific scenarios. So we're gonna play another quick game of Would You Rather.
Oh, okay.
So we're gonna pick. I'm gonna give you like maybe 2 or 3 questions. You're gonna pick one and a 1-sentence explanation, and try to keep it short as we're trying to end this podcast. Already gone over an hour 15. All right, so
Oh shit.
first one. We'll go in the order. I'll tell you which order you're gonna answer in because I will just pick on you so you go faster. All right. So first question: would you rather lose all your money and valuables, or all of the pictures you have ever taken? Kemp.
Pictures.
Pictures.
I mean, I barely take any pictures.
That's-
Pictures I take are like screenshots.
All right, Jimmy.
That's it. Next.
Who's next?
Jimmy, go.
Oh,
Yeah,
pictures, obviously. What the fuck? I can pay someone to keep my pictures for me, then get my money back, and then get the pictures back.
Okay.
Oh, very smart.
Okay, Phillip.
Pictures, cause I know how it is without money, and it fucking sucks. So, pictures.
All right, and Travis.
Pictures, because the memories are in my mind forever.
Oh,
All right.
That's so
So this is.
Get the fuck out.
Hey,
I'm
it's
not here to
okay.
ignore your
Hey,
shit.
look, I didn't ask for like a strict like if you really feel about your answer that way, but you gave an explanation. That's fine with me. All right, so that was a relatively easy one. All right, so let's move on to a slightly more hobby related. Now,
Oh.
would you rather never use social media sites or apps again, or never watch another movie or TV show? This includes
Wait, say that again?
would you rather never use social media and apps ever again, or never watch another movie or TV show, including those
okay.
on the internet?
Okay.
Wait, like
alright.
like social media apps, right? Like not
Apps,
at any
apps,
just
sites,
social media.
like you basically, I don't know what, dude. That means like
I
you
already
can
know
you can
my
use your
answer.
phone,
Like
you can use your phone, you can text message,
okay.
but you can't like no
Okay.
Facebook, no Instagram, no Snapchat, no Twitter, no.
Easy.
Oh, okay,
Easy
okay, yeah,
answer
yeah,
already here.
yeah.
Or-
just go pick on someone.
All right, we'll go in reverse order. Travis, you're first.
Okay, I would give up social media. I'm a huge extrovert, but I mean, if we don't watch movies and TV shows, I mean, it's a huge piece of being social.
Okay, fair. Phillip.
I would get rid of social media because TK knows that I spend like $100 on movies every month.
Oh my god.
Damn.
God
Because
damn.
I fucking love movies and TV shows. TV shows are always on Netflix, but yeah, I just love that entertainment more.
Okay, wait. I had to jump in. Do you buy movies like online?
Do you like have like the it's like
I
the
use
AMC like rewards card?
No. I use. Do you guys know Voodoo?
Oh yeah.
No.
No.
Voodoo. Well, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
this is where it's
go
like
ahead.
streaming for movies and stuff like that, and yeah, and I actually buy the movies, so
Oh.
I can keep them forever.
Oh.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
Cool.
One Night in Paris is his favorite title.
Is that true?
No.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
All right, Jimmy, go.
Okay. Does social media include like Reddit?
Yes.
Oh
fuck.
shit.
Yeah, that's the thing. So I need clarification. Social media includes Reddit. Does it include WhatsApp, which is
Yes. Anything.
just messaging?
Oh wait, just messaging. That's fine. Anything that is super extra in terms of interacting with multiple people at simultaneously. So
I
like,
would probably have to give up movies and TV shows because if you've ever actually just given up communicating to someone online, it's probably terrible.
all right, fair. All right, Kemp.
Like, I thought I'd give up social media Reddit.
All right, so all right, that's fair enough. You're a redditor. All right, last question.
No, but
Oh, so
I'd
go ahead.
probably still give up social media because I'm a bigger weeper than a redditor.
All right,
Yeah.
that's fair. That's fair.
I'll
All
just,
right,
I'll just text you, Neron.
for sure. Be like, oh, what's happening on Worlds?
Yeah.
All right, final question. Would you rather be? Oh, this is one of the more valuable questions.
Value. Okay.
Would you rather be poor but help people, or become incredibly rich by hurting people?
Rich by hurting.
All right, do you need an explanation, or do you just gonna?
Nope, I don't think that needs an explanation.
All right, all right.
Do I get caught?
What? Wait.
No,
Okay,
no.
are we talking about murder? Like, are we murdering
No.
poor people to get money? Because what is he?
We
why
get
is he
it,
asking
dude.
for
We
getting
get it.
caught?
You kill homeless people to get off. It's the same thing. We get
Yeah,
it.
that's different. That's sexual pleasure, not money.
Dude, you're rich in freaking hormones. Dude, I don't know.
Rich material?
But yeah.
Yeah,
so-
okay. When you say hurting, I mean I'm thinking just screwing over a little for money.
That's fine. You can
Yes.
interpret it that way if you want to. That's fine with me.
Sure, okay.
All right.
It's like hurt him and okay. So,
But obviously, some people will have higher degrees of how screwed over they are. Obviously.
Yeah, Kemp is thinking about murdering people for money.
yeah, do we get caught or not?
Oh my
Don't
God.
answer,
No,
don't
well-
answer this question.
Let's
don't
just
get
say,
caught.
let's just say, if you are caught, you have enough money to pay it off.
Or else fucking do it.
Oh my
No,
God.
but there is there the guilt of leaving that people hurting? That's where the value lies. It's like
What's guilt?
only if I know the person very well. Like say like so like, I fuck over my best friend, like I'd feel bad. I probably wouldn't do that.
Can I phone a friend for the definition of guilt?
Holy shit.
holy sh- All right, Jimmy, you've had enough answering this question. Phillip or Travis, go answer the question, dude. Either one.
Oh man, this is such a hard question.
It's really not. It's really not.
Yeah, for me it's not either.
See,
Yeah,
this
yeah,
is why
it's too
I'm asking you.
hard.
Where do your values lie? What's guilt? Jimmy doesn't
I
care.
learned from this podcast that me and Jimmy Reed.
I mean, okay, honestly, if the people I'm fucking over are, I don't know. If I can help more people than I fuck over, I'd pick the second option.
But no, it's about fucking over people.
No, but if
No,
I fuck over
but
people, I
he's
get,
saying
like,
if he can
millions
use
of
his
dollars, then
money,
I'd save-
yeah, if he can use the money to help other people, that's an interesting point. Okay, if you want to choose that one, I think I'm okay with that one. That's a slight loophole, but sure.
I would choose money over screwing people too. Specifically people who don't have common sense.
Okay, you're really caught up on this common sense thing.
we didn't want to open it up that much, but hey, it's enough. We know where his values lie. All right, I would also go with the rich but hurt people. If I could choose the people I hurt, god damn, that would be
Yeah.
that'd
You're all
be-
very picky about this.
Hey, but it's a broad question, you know. If
Nothing's black and white,
nothing
right?
black and white, exactly. All right,
A lot
so
of people don't have common sense.
all right, so we're gonna close this podcast off. Thanks for everyone who is watching. And before we log off, do any of you four have any final comments, final words before we turn this stream off?
I like the way you think, Jimmy.
Follow
I
me on
think-
Instagram. I post pictures of food.
I think Phillip should resolve his
Wait, I
problems
thought you
with
wanted
everyone
to
he
give us
has.
the pictures.
All right, no, hold on. Let's go in order. Let's go in the same order we answered this final question. Kemp, final words.
Wait, I thought he wanted to give up the pictures. Who's that guy?
That was I thought that was everybody.
Yeah, everybody didn't want their pictures.
Yeah, wait, who the fuck wants to follow your Instagram? If you want to give up your pictures?
All right. It's all right. Kemp, you said you like the way. Who's it?
I like
Jimmy
the way
thinks.
Jimmy thinks.
All right. Jimmy, go.
I like the way I think too, and also Philip needs to work his unresolved issues out. Apparently.
Okay, Travis. Last words.
Follow me on Instagram.
Oh my god! Like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe. Thumbs up on the podcast. You know.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks. All right, Philip. Final words.
Continue already.
I hate people with no common sense.
I really hate people who
Okay,
don't have
we-
Yeah,
common
but I
sense.
don't think that's your final words. We've heard it like 10
No,
times.
it's his final word. Trust me. This-
Well, my final word is: if you need a website, let me know. I can help you out on that.
Why are you guys?
Look, it doesn't
those
matter. I
shameless-
said I didn't say it had to relate to
shameless.
anything. I just said final words. That's
No,
fine.
I mean like they're like plugging themselves.
Doesn't matter.
what
You
people
make
do.
it sound
There's
like
like-
you make it sound like this podcast and my YouTube channel's gone big or something,
I know.
dude.
How many viewers does this podcast even get?
Don't worry about it, dude. Don't worry. That's what I'm gonna
Like and
tell
share
you.
the podcast.
Just-
Like and share the podcast.
Just go ahead and just kill homeless people. All right, you do you, fam.
Look, I
As
never
long
said
as
kill
it
them, I
doesn't
just
hurt
choke
me,
them out.
I'm good. I'm just kidding. That's a lie. All right. So, thank you once again, everyone, for these 4 individuals for being on this week's podcast. For those watching on Facebook Live, for you watching on YouTube, leave a comment, like, and subscribe if you feel the need to. And yeah, I'd like to close this podcast off right now. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.
So yeah.